Hi, my name's Tia, and this is a terrifying story about what happened when my mom got remarried. I'm from France, and I come from a pretty well off family. Growing up, my life was pretty good. But a few months ago, my parents suddenly got divorced. I was devastated, and it was so hard choosing who to live with, but eventually I chose my mom. It worked out well because I got to live with my mom, but I still got to see my dad 3 times a week. For a while, everything was fine. But then my mom started dating this guy called Alain, and pretty soon they were married. It all happened so quickly that I barely had time to process it. I understand why my mom got remarried. I mean, she wouldn't exactly want to grow old alone, but I have no idea why Alain was attracted to my mom. You see, Alain was great looking, super friendly, a total gentleman. Oh, yeah, and he was 20 years younger than my mom. Yep, that's right. So, why did he want to marry someone who was already middle-aged? They seemed happily in love, though, and were always kissing all the time. It was kind of disgusting, actually, but I felt seriously suspicious. It just didn't make sense. Alain could have anyone he wanted. So, one day, I decided to follow him. He was going to a business meeting, and after he left the house, I crept out after him. I was sure he was going to do something shady because every 5 minutes or so, he'd turn around and look back. I had to keep jumping behind trees so he wouldn't notice me. Then he went into a restaurant, and I watched from across the road. He sat down at a table by the window, and a few minutes later, a woman came to join him. I suddenly felt stupid for following him. It was just a meeting after all. But then something caught my eye. She leaned in towards him and started kissing him. I ran across the road so quickly I almost got run over by a guy on a motorcycle. The window of the restaurant was open, so I stood in the alley next to it to eavesdrop, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I pulled out my phone to record it, and every single thing I heard sent chills down my spine. The woman's name seemed to be Ava, and she said she couldn't stand sharing him with my mom anymore. And when would he end it already? And then Alain responded, and I fell back against the wall in shock. It felt like someone had punched me in the chest. He said that if she wanted to be a millionaire, she'd just need to be patient for a little while longer. And then he talked about mountain climbing and how him and my mom had made a booking to climb a crazy high, isolated mountain. And then he told this Ava woman his plan, and I started sobbing. He said he was planning to push my mom off the mountain, and because my mom had a big life insurance scheme he was the beneficiary of, he'd become rich from it. He'd be drowning in millions of bucks. After that, I couldn't listen to a second more. I ran down the alley in tears and totally forgot I'd even recorded it all. I sat down by a dumpster and cried my eyes out. How could anyone be that cruel? I got up to leave, and suddenly something dropped out of my pocket. It was my phone, and it was still on record mode. Oh my gosh, I quickly clicked save and ran out of the alley. I thought about going straight to my mom, but I didn't think she'd believe me. That's how smitten she was with Alain. So instead, I decided to go to the police station and let them listen to it first. The cops couldn't believe it. They rushed straight to the restaurant, and luckily, Alain and that woman Ava were still there. They were both arrested straight away and taken down to the police station. I watched it all happen, and Alain kept shouting at me, but I just stood there with a blank expression on my face. He was nobody to us now. They both got sentenced. Alain got 8 years in prison under attempted murder, and Ava got 5 years. And when my mom found out about it, she couldn't stop screaming. My mom and Alain had planned the whole trip, and he had even persuaded her to increase her life insurance scheme. It took weeks for my mom to recover from that, and even now I'm not sure she's okay. I don't know how she'll ever trust anyone again. And as for my dad, well, now he started dating someone, and at first I felt suspicious. I even followed her too, just to check, but honestly, she seems really lovely. I hate to think what would have happened if my mom had actually gone on that mountain climbing trip. Moral of the story? You just need to be careful about trusting someone you don't know very well. You never know what their motives might be, so just stay aware.